Hi, welcome to the Shirley Ryder Show, and you're with Shirley Ryder, and today we're speaking with Carol Story. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Shirley.
Hi, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shirley.
And thanks very much for coming on and talking to me.
You're welcome.
Remember to hit the subscribe button if you want to receive more notifications of uploads. Also, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and leave a comment. I love to hear from you.
Carol, of course, you've been involved in a lot of music, and I was hoping that we can get the story from you today.
Yes.
But to start off with, just a little bit about how you got into music, or what it was that drew you to music.
Well, I think music's always been a part of my life. I come from a family of 6 children and 2 parents, and growing up in the 50s and the 60s was a time when you made your own entertainment. And as a family, we used to do like family concerts in the kitchen.
Yep.
And as a young child, I belonged to Kapahaka in Opoziki, which is my hometown. And also churches, going to church as a child as well. Yeah, I think so. Music was something that you absorbed into your person. Yeah.
So, of course, like the Maori culture, that would have been a big, obviously, with your album.
Huge influence, and that's been a huge influence from me on me without actually knowing that's occurring for you, because you learn rhythm, you learn harmonies, you learn how to sing in tune, because in those days if you didn't sing in tune you were told, hey, you're flat, or something like that.
Yeah, pretty bluntly probably.
Yes.
Yeah, you've got a wonderful voice. When did you join your first band, and what was it?
Well, if you would call it a band, I guess like when I was at high school, I did some performances at high school. I was in a stage show called Salad Days back then, and I would have been 14.
Wow.
And so I had the lead role in that show. As a young person, we never had microphones, so you had to be able to just naturally project your voice in the hall. And then when I went off to university, I suppose, and church, I was a part of a little church band, and that sort of, I guess, got me working with other musicians, and I was predominantly singing and playing a bit of guitar. But all through my teenage years and primary school years, I had a best friend, and her and I both loved our guitars, and we used to play and sing together, but we never did any public performances. So I guess all those sorts of things are where you're growing your music. Yeah, without you even being aware of it.
Yeah. How did you learn to play the guitar?
Well, I used to watch my brother. I always used to want to have a guitar, and my brother had a guitar, and I used to sit and watch him play. And then when I went off to university, I took guitar lessons in classical guitar when I was about 17, and so that started sort of like a formal learning of the guitar. Yeah.
And of course we've got lots and lots of CDs are going to show up soon that you've been involved with and done. But before we get on to that, talk about you went to university. Was that to get a teaching degree?
Yeah, it was to become a teacher. I actually wanted to be a fashion designer, Shirley, because I used to design and make all my own clothes.
Very lovely today.
Hey, and this is all I bought. But I used to design and make all my own clothes, and that's what I wanted to do. And I'd signed up to go to Wellington and study fashion. But my father, who was a really strong influence on my life, Dad really felt that I should look at teaching, because I also worked a lot with children in the community when I was as a young person. And so that's how I went off to become a teacher.
And of course you're still at Tauranga Intermediate.
Yes, I know.
And a little while at Mount Intermediate. Because Carol and me used to, you were the great music teacher. I was the sort of person that used to help out in little ways with the ukulele teaching and different things.
Yeah, but you've
It's
got
great.
so many skills, Shirley, that you bring to music.
Thank you.
You know,
Yeah.
and the children that you have taught have enjoyed
Oh,
working with you.
I probably get over involved in their lives a little bit. I enjoy, you know,
Yeah.
I do quite bond.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, enough about me. But yeah, no, you're a great teacher. Really.
I love working with students. I love children. You know? And yeah, I think that they are just wonderful little beings to have around you.
What do you think you bring? What's one thing that you think you really bring to the classroom?
Well, I hope that in what I don't know. It's I find it easy to work with children.
Yeah.
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 So it's not a struggle. And I remember hearing, and it's like playing. I like playing with children. And I think it might have been Linda Ronstadt who may have said that, you know, it's good that if your work is something that you enjoy playing with. And I enjoy making music with children, seeing them make music, and watching children learn how to read.
So, moving forward on your timeline, so we talked about your first band that you're in. Can you just let us know some of the musicians that you've played with? Obviously not all of them, but some of them that we might know.
I think that probably for me the musician that I've spent the most time making music with would be Liam Ryan.
You took me heart and soul. You took me heart and soul.
And so I've known Liam for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And been a great influence, great mentor, person to actually share musical experiences with. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think you would have learnt most from him over that time?
I think you learn music through your skin. That's a great saying of Liam's.
Right. Yeah.
Is that we learn a lot of stuff through our skin just being around it. It's like it soaks in.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah. And what do you think what you might have inspired him with?
I think possibly because I'm Maori, I think that the Maori influence with him, and sometimes he used to refer to me as being the cultural police.
Oh.
And you know, it was, I didn't mean to be the cultural police, but it was a natural way of being, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just making sure that the respect is given to the music, and
Here's the Torch Song album, one of them. Do you want to tell us something about that one?
Well, that was the first album that we did as a band. Now, Torch Songs was a sort of eclectic group of musicians. We've got Liam, who was, I guess, the director of Torch Songs. And it started really, the name itself came from Liam and I working as a duo. There was just the two of us. And we were told, what's your name? And we thought, we always liked having a candle with us, so we said, we'll call ourselves Torch Songs.
Yeah.
And because I sang a lot of torch songs, and he played piano, I sang, that it seemed to fit, and so it stuck with us.
Torch Songs.
Yeah. And then, so there were the two of us first, and then we, Dave Maybe came and joined us,
Right.
and Wayne Melville,
Yeah.
and Grant Mason, and Neil Reynolds. Yeah.
And this is the other one?
Yes.
What's this one?
Yeah, that's the second album that we did, and it's got a few originals on that one. There's actually some originals on the other one, instrumental originals.
Okay.
So this one's got an original, starts with one by Liam, and then one written by Marion Arts that she wrote for me. A beautiful song, and then it's got Pohutakawa, which is one of my songs, and then a translation I did of Autumn Leaves.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And of course, also you've done, you and Liam did these albums together, some children's ones.
Yes, we did. So this one here, The Present, that was a great album, and it won the New Zealand Music Award, a TUI Award for a children's album.
Wow.
And this album was, the songs were written and performed by the students. And they were between, I think between 10 and 14 years of age were the ages of those students. So Liam produced the album,
Yeah.
and I assisted with the vocals and things like that, with working with the students. And it went on to be an amazing project to be involved in. And then the next one, of course, we called the project,
Oh, yes.
because that one there then involved some of the same students, similar age, and Kimbra is on this album.
She was 12, you said.
Yeah, she was 12, and she wrote some great songs. Some of her great songs are on there. So
And of course, we all know who Liam Ryan is, but for those people that don't, Liam was in a band called the Narcs. You might remember. Now, also, there's these ones that you did with children's shows.
So these are DVDs of school productions that I've written with students. This one here is called Tamanui the Brave Kōkako, and so I wrote that with students, and there's an original song in there written by my daughter Natalia, and then the next one that I wrote with students was called Maya, about a dancer. So and at the moment I'm currently writing with a group of students this year's production, and we're doing about the huia.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
what can you tell us about that? When will that be ready? And
that's going to be done this year.
Here is the TUI Award.
Yeah. So this is the TUI Award, and this is the one that Liam Ryan and Carol's Story, the children's album in
Awesome.
2000.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was great work. It was great working with Liam with kids.
Did you have to go in to the actual presentation? Of
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, we didn't know we got it until we went to the awards.
But you would have known you were nominated?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were one of the nominees, and it was
How awesome.
great excitement.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Going back to when you were a child,
or teenager.
You've got something there that you did, and it's a
Wow.
vinyl.
I know, it's a
Wow.
vinyl, and it's
Look at
analog. Look, it's falling apart, but it's still, you can still play it. And it's called Reflective Love, and it's an album that I did with a group of other Christian young people, and we called ourselves the Advent. And we're very proud of our little album that we did. And recently I was contacted by someone who was doing research on Aurora Studios. So that's because that's where it was produced.
Yeah, I was going to ask you
in
that,
Hamilton.
Okay.
Yeah, so someone was wanting to know where were those studios. Someone who was doing research on New Zealand studios.
Are they still there?
No.
No.
And I don't even know if the building is still there. And but it was kind of like one take.
Probably be a collector's item now.
Yeah, and we all had to pay $12 each to do the album.
Oh, that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
How cool.
In those days, so it's our
cool.
reflective love.
Yeah. Now you have another award here, and this one's a lot lighter.
Yes.
What can you tell us about this one?
So this one here is I'm very proud of this one. This is the 2008 Maori Music Award for the Best Traditional Maori Album in Te Reo. And this is for the Mokomoko album. That I wrote, a body of work that I did, and this was the first time that they had started giving out awards for Māori music, the Waiata Māori Music Awards. They held in Hastings, and so that was the first year that they did it, and from now it's really grown to quite a large sort of, it's a much bigger event, and I think LAB may have got something last year.
Awesome.
Yeah, to do with that.
Actually, talk about LAB, because Joel Shadbolt, you sort of got a bit of a past connection with mentoring with you and Liam, was that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, just I guess there again, it's something that is just a part of who you are as musicians, sort of like the musical whānau, I suppose. Joel came and played at my school at Tauranga when he was about 13, played to the school because I knew his father, because I went to school with his father, and so there was that connection, and his dad used to follow torch songs, and so we'd get Joel up to come and play with torch songs, and it was great when we did the New Year's Eve gig down on the beach, and we had Joel, I think he may have been 15 at the time, come and play with us. It was really awesome.
It must be really amazing to see how well he's
It's wonderful, and the Kora boys that he plays with, I remember their grandfather as a child, and so just knowing that whānau connection and how people connect in life.
His dad would have been very proud. Yeah. And actually leading on to the next question, in the music room, any students that you've taught musically that have sort of
basically, I think that they are students that you have a real connection with, and you can see something there that's you can see their passion, you can sense their talent and their skills. I mean, probably one of the most outstanding guitarists I've ever come across is Michael Van Leishout, and Michael made this guitar stand for me.
Wow!
At the as a gift when he left school at the end of 2019.
Wow,
and
that's lovely.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Means a lot,
Yes,
Yeah.
and Michael was taught by Joel, and still is. Yeah, so Joel has mentored that child, so you can sort of see I guess one could almost call it the whakapapa of music.
Was that the time when they played, when you guys told me to come down to the Amokaraja?
Yes, yeah.
And there was Joel and the little boy playing.
Yes,
I know. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, and
lovely.
then he would have been 11, maybe 12.
Yeah.
But Michael's gone it's just incredible musician.
Awesome.
Wonderful. So he's just one of many. There's the Tola family, Leilani Tola, beautiful singer, and her brother Elijah, young Shinazar Stalucia, who is heading to jazz school, and she's won twice in a year, I think, the top jazz vocalist at the National Jazz Awards. So there's a lot of very gifted young people that you get to be a part of. Another wonderful singer, I think she's at Mount College, yes, Sky Lily.
Okay.
Sky Lily Porkai, beautiful singer. And these are all children who've come through school productions, and which is a great platform
It must
for them.
take a lot of work to do the school productions.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of work. It's quite exhausting, but it's fun.
And worth it.
Yeah. So the Mokomoko album. Mokomoko was my great grandfather, and who was wrongfully executed by the Crown in 1866.
Gee.
So it was during the time of the turbulent land grabbing wars that were going on, and he was the chief at Whakatohia, and sadly wrongfully accused and taken away and executed. And the last thing that he said before he was hung was, "Let me sing my song. I die an innocent man." And so I always feel that his story needs to be told, and I feel it is through him that the strong influence of music has probably come as well. The fact he was a composer, and that was the last thing that he did.
So what will we expect to see on the album?
So the album actually tells the story of, first of all, acknowledging Io, who in Māoridom is sort of like the supreme overseer of everything. I guess same as the Christian God, just Māori call him Io. And so there's an acknowledgement to him, or to Io, and then there's a song about Mokomoko, which tells his story, and then there's a song about one of his wives, Kimohia, from whom I'm descended, and that's called Kirikiri o Te Wā. Probably that would be one of my favourites on the album because of the inspiration that came when I wrote that song. Then there's about the birds, one about the seabirds, about the beautiful pohutakawa, about the rivers. So it's all about things that I feel very strongly connected to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it's natural sort of, awesome.
Yeah, and then the last one is, I guess, Ngā Rau o Te Ngāhuru. That's my translation of Autumn Leaves, which was to my mum, and Mum used to loved Nat King Cole and used to play Nat King Cole when I was a child, and so that was a tribute to her. And Huria Tawa, who lives here, she's one of the kuia here in Tauranga Moana. She helped me with the translation of that song, which is fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah.
So when I did this album, I had mentors. I would call them te reo mentors that I went to, and Huria Tawa was one. Another cousin of mine, sadly, who passed away recently, was Oke Huriwaka, but sadly she's passed away. And of course my father, who's Pākehā, who was Pākehā, Dad's gone too. But Dad was a very strong influence for me. Yeah.
Now, of course, you did probably one of your another musical achievements. You did a musical, what was that, degree or masters? I can't remember.
Oh, my masters, yeah.
Masters in music.
Yeah.
So was that part of that?
Yes, it was. Yeah, some of the tracks on here were part of it, and that actual study led on to me finishing the album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So it's a great masters to do. You'd be perfect for doing it.
You told me
Shirley.
about it at the time. It was only because I was sick I didn't do it.
I know.
Otherwise, I would have loved to have done it.
Yeah, and it's because you do your own project.
Yeah.
And actually, three of us from Torch Songs did it at the same time. There's me and Liam and Grant Mason.
Right.
So we all had different topics that we worked on it. And I looked at contemporary female Māori composers.
Oh, that would have been good.
And I looked at the history of Māori women being the holders of knowledge and being the composers, even in traditional times.
And what did you what was the main take home that you found out from that in your song?
Well, and when I did that, I also interviewed a Whirimako Black, Hinewehi Mohi, you know, who did the Oceania, wonderful composers, and Moana Maniapoto. So I spoke with those women as well, and we talked about their process of putting the music together and things like that. Yeah.
And what can you share with us? What you kind of...
Well, what was interesting for me was that out of the three women, Hinewehi, Moana and Whirimako, that Whirimako was the only one that actually composed everything in te reo. Like she thought te reo, composed first in te reo. The other women went from English to te reo. Yeah, so they had their thoughts in English, and then that was translated for them with help into Māori. And so when I was working on my album, I tried to think in te reo to write my songs. And so I would think in te reo, write my song in te reo, and then I would run it by a mentor and say,
Is it in te reo?
does this make sense? Is this right? You know? And so I wanted to try that process.
Yeah. And when you sort of like just generally write songs, what is your like? Say if your song was in English and you just picked up the guitar and you were playing, what would be your process?
Sometimes it's I think a lot of it is doodling on the guitar. Yeah.
So it kind of comes
Playing
from the
guitar.
feel.
Yes.
And then you kind of get a bit of a buzz happening, and then the lyrics kind of go around that. Yeah.
And that was very much a process with the Māori albums.
Right.
You know, I'd sort of grab my guitar and I'd sort of hear or think of something.
Yep.
And so that, like with Kiri o Te Wā, it would sort of make me think. I know that I know it was going to be a sad song, and so like with you know, you base your chords around those things, or the chords come to you in that way, and then the happy song.
Music to me, I find has been a really healing thing for myself.
Yes.
So what do you think about music in relation to healing?
Yeah, I totally feel that it is. I mean, you know, like when you feel blue sometimes, just going and listening to a piece of music or going to your instrument helps to shift you.
It does.
Helps to shift your thinking.
Helps to get your emotion out rather than in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I look at like Neil Reynolds as a living example. When I spoke to him on his birthday, 100. I mean, whoa, it's cool. He said he put his longevity down to being a musician and playing golf.
I don't know about golf.
Yeah, I don't play golf. But he said because this is how he looked at it, was that in the evenings he did his music and his playing, and in the daytime he was out in the environment playing golf.
From that
and,
point
and he was walking, he was exercising, and so I guess getting a good balance, yes, some vitamin D and things like that. So
you've got the physical and the emotional.
Yeah. So I think it's a very powerful. It's a very powerful source music.
It is very, very healing. Yeah.
Tauranga Big Band. I've been singing for that band.
Do you want to tell us first of all who was in the band or what it was about?
Well, the big band, it's called a big band because there's so many people in the big band.
The highlights of the big band.
So Tauranga Big Band is a community-based band, and basically nobody gets paid, and nobody complains, because we all do it because we love it. We love music and we love doing things together. And so I've been singing for the big band for probably, I don't know, whether it might be 20 years.
Wow.
And along with Barry Spedding and Natalia, my daughter's been singing with the band for a while as well. So we've done 3 albums, and this was one we did with the Tauranga Concert Orchestra as well, so we did that one. And that's when Leith Milson was the director.
Oh, Leith, yeah.
And Leith's a wonderful musician.
He's a great piano player.
Fantastic. And sax player.
Oh, I didn't know
bass
that.
player.
And thanks very much for coming on and talking to me.
You're welcome.
Remember to hit the subscribe button if you want to receive more notifications of uploads. Also, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and leave a comment. I love to hear from you.